Hi Virgo, welcome to your December 2019 love reading. It's Raina here, just shuffling the cards. Oh, I wanted to tell you that this is the what's the name of it? Ethereal Visions Illuminated Tarot deck. Very like early 1900s-esque. I really like this one. Oops. And this reading is intended for people who are currently single, as well as people who are in relationships that they're not sure if they want to stay in. You got the artist, which is in addition to this deck. I think I'm going to have to check the interpretation yet again. I know it's about somebody who is like an artistic person, but because this is not in the regular Rider-Waite deck, they added a card, so. This is actually the second time I've gotten it during this series. The heart of the matter is the Knight of Swords, and this is a card that is fire and earth energy. I'm sorry, fire and air. And so this card connects to somebody who, like especially a male, who may be very passionate about their ideas. They might be a lawyer or a writer. So if you're interested in somebody like this, the swords are Libra, Gemini, Aquarius. And I'm trying to think. Yeah, Earth. Libra, Gemini. No, you're mutable. So Gemini, maybe this is a Gemini person. And this person, if this is somebody that you know, you might be attracted to them because of their intellect. Like they have a very sharp intellect. But what might be problematic for you is that you don't like the way that they talk. Even though they're very smart, they may be very blunt to the point where you find it offensive, where you find that it's kind of hurtful that they're talking like that they're a little bit too kind of rough around the edges that way. And they might have already offended you before. Again, you know, this could be for a single person. This might be somebody you have a crush on. But that's one thing that scares you a little bit, is that the person tends to be very outspoken and you're not quite sure if you like that quality in them, that it might be a little bit too much. Kind of like an Aries individual. And like I said, this has fire to it as well. This person may visit you once in a while, like they come into town and they wine and dine you, or you go out and they kind of turn your life upside down every time they come into town, because they're in and they're out. They're not staying in one place. The Knight of Swords, Knight of Wands are chaotic energies. And they're supposed to be youthful, so especially for these types who are not ready to settle down. The other thing too about this is this person, I don't know, like I wonder if there's someone who you dealt with, you know, I mean, you could even be having like could be a coworker, or the lawyer if you've gotten divorced, the lawyer that you were with. Maybe they like to fight, I mean, not scream and yell, but debate. Like there's that mental rapport, and you love that, and you're like, oh, I never get the chance to have these debates with somebody, and now I have. But it almost like when you have these arguments, maybe kind of like not mean-spirited, but kind of that you enjoy these spirited conversations, it might leave you with a bad taste in your mouth because you still may have hurt feelings afterwards where you're not quite sure if the person was being disrespectful to you. There's always like that little question of like, okay, what did they do? What were they really saying? And trying to kind of read between the lines with this person. If you're single, this may be somebody that you have your eye on, or that somebody like an ex or something like that, and that makes you a little bit leery of relationships in general. Because that person, they might be mean, actually. They might put you down. And Virgo people, you're not emotional in that classic sense, but you are sensitive, especially towards yourself, especially feeling inadequate. I have the moon in Virgo. Virgo people, but people with a prominent Virgo do not like to be criticized, even as they are critical of others. They do not, they can dish it out, but they can't take it. And the thing is that it's very easy for you to feel inadequate based on somebody, saying something about you that you may feel is true. Like they hone in on your insecurities. So I would say too that that this person may play mind games. In the past position, we have the Wheel of Fortune. So again, with cycles, the circle, the cycle. Let's see what this card, I'm trying to see if they have. It's interesting. I don't think that my little booklet goes into symbolism. I see a lion, and looks like an eagle, a woman, and I don't know what that is, a horse. Maybe it's all of the, no, it can't be the mutable signs, because Leo is fixed. So the Wheel of Fortune, sometimes if you're dealing with this Knight of Swords or you're attracted to this person, it can be trying to show you how the circle, more about the cycle of like making the same mistakes over and over again. Being attracted to the same type of people over and over again. And that sort of thing. Usually the Wheel of Fortune, it has that connection to Jupiter. Oh, you know what? Okay, here's the thing too. In December, there's going to be a solar eclipse in Capricorn, which happens for Virgo. That happens to be your 5th house of romance. So that might be a timing thing. Even though it's in the past position, I think it's significant enough to mention that because this is something that it's like a very powerful new moon, the solar eclipse in this 5th house, which is romance. So if you're single especially, it's like you may have multiple opportunities for a romantic relationship, come 2020. Because this is happening around Christmas time, so it's at the end of the year. So that would be interesting. And the Wheel of Fortune, and Jupiter, and Jupiter's going to be in conjunction with it, and that's the ruler of that card. So if you're dealing with somebody who is, like if you're currently in a relationship with somebody who is like the Knight of Swords, who's kind of abrasive, who's maybe like intelligent, but that intelligence is used as a weapon where you think, well, since this person is intelligent, since this person is a lawyer or a writer or a teacher, what they perceive, what they say, has total relevance, when maybe it's just a stupid opinion based upon, or maybe it's not even true and they just want you to think that because they're gaslighting you, because they're trying to make you feel like your perceptions are off and that they know what you're really about, And then we have, as the higher message, the Nine of Wands, and this is the card of the person who is standing at the gate and very, aware of his surroundings. And this is a card of boundaries, but sometimes those boundaries are like having a wall up, and sometimes it's so high that the person is keeping out everyone, because they're just so hurt or so afraid of possibly getting hurt again. Well, I guess that's the same thing, isn't it? Something along those lines. Maybe shy. I think a lot of Virgos are pretty shy. And, the thing is that in some cases you need those boundaries, where you might just be too much of a pushover, and you may just, like with the Knight of Swords, it's like there's that saying, you teach people how to treat you. And so when you're first meeting somebody and they make a joke about you that is like, it's something that puts you down. And then when you take offense to it, and then it could just be like you feel hurt and you show that you're hurt, they're like, you're too sensitive. What are you talking about? Those kinds of things should never, ever be like dismissed, because those are real. They happen. When you are dealing with a person like that, you will deal with them all the time. They will do that to you all the time. And that is, to me, a major form of gaslighting, where people are trying to convince you that you are the problem. If you take offense to what they say, you're obviously the problem. You're insecure. If you were secure enough within yourself, you'd be able to take their jokes. But their jokes are always at your expense. So that card, the Nine of Wands, can go either way. It can either be that you need to have boundaries. You need to have a line in the sand where it's like, okay, if this person does X, Y, or Z, I can't have a relationship with them. Or at least you can say, look, this is, I don't tolerate that kind of treatment, or I don't like to be talked about like that. I don't like those kind of jokes. And, be very clear about that. And sometimes people are innocent and they're like, oh man, I didn't know. Okay, I'm sorry, and they don't do it again. And those are the decent people. The other people are the ones who will tell you that it's your problem, it's your fault, you're too this or you're too that. So, so that's what the Nine of Wands in the spiritual position, which is really, to me, when I say spiritual, it's about your own character development, your own inner development. What crosses you is the Judgment card. Now look at that gilded, look how it's gleaming. I love that. And I really love the art on this one. And the colors, the kind of the mauve. So the Judgment card is a card of rebirth, and also, but in this context, I think it's more about the idea of having good judgment, whether you're single or not, whether if you're in a relationship with somebody and the relationship isn't going well, you may not be with the right person, and that's okay. Admitting that you may have made a mistake in judgment is perfectly fine. People do this all the time. they think they want a certain quality. The one quality that they're attracted to turns out to be the thing that does the relationship in, you know. You meet somebody and it's like, wow, this person, they love to have a good time. They love to have fun just like I do. And then you realize this person, really likes to have a good time, but a little bit too much. And they might have a drinking problem. They might like to go hang out at the bars, from Friday through Sunday or something like that. Or, in other words, what you thought was a good quality is actually exacerbated in a very obvious way, but it takes a while to figure that out. Also, going against your better judgment, you notice some of those traits that are negative, because Virgos are pretty perceptive, but you explain it away to yourself because you don't want to not be with this person, or not having a rebirth, because like, it's interesting. I have the Judgment card and the Wheel of Fortune. So there's like kind of that, the cycles in life, but something about the Judgment card in the challenge position. It's like, no, I'm not ready to let go of something from my past. So it's hard for me to begin anew. Actually, the Nine of Wands sometimes can indicate that somebody that you thought you were done with comes back into the picture. So that might be a word to the wise, even though I usually don't read those spiritual cards in a straight up predictive fashion. What's coming in, or the advice, is the Nine of Swords. This is a card, I don't know if I've ever gotten it from this deck. Very faithful to the Rider-Waite. Now look at this. Look at I'm sure you can see the faint sketch in the background. You see the person in the front, they're almost like demons, and pointing at this young woman who's got her face in her hands. And it's like they're mocking her, or at least this one. They're like demonic. And then I noticed here, see, like down there, that's a pretty fierce looking skull. So the Nine of Swords is a card of anxiety, but there's like this internalized thing about it. And that's the thing, love isn't supposed to be painful. If you're with somebody who's bringing out the anxiety in you, that you are like staying up at night because of the hurtful things that they said or did, don't shove that under the rug and act like, oh, that's no big deal, this too shall pass. That's crazy. This is, your emotions, just like Abraham Hicks says, your emotions are your guidance system, your GPS system. The other thing, too, is that I see this, too, as kind of a projection from within. I think a lot of anxiety is actually the person's repressed emotions, negative emotions, coming out at night. And that's why they depict it as insomnia, because during the day they can busy themselves. They don't have to think about all these things. And then at night, everything is quiet and you can't run and hide. You're almost, it's very common for people to have a very passive, behavior at night when they are, settling down in the evening. And that can bring out some of the things that you haven't wanted to deal with. And it's good to look at these things and see how they relate to your love life. Even if you're single, you may feel anxiety because you think that you should be in a relationship right now, that it says something about you that you're not in a relationship. Perhaps you want to start a family, or you want to settle down, as they call it, and you feel that you're not complete until you do that. The thing is that the anxiety is not situational. You may think it is, but it's really the judgments, hello, that's a card, that you attach to whatever your situation is. So in other words, if you're single and you're 30 and you in your mind said, I want to be married by the time I'm 30, what is that judgment about being 30? That it means that you're undesirable if you haven't found it, that you're a failure if you haven't, failure in relationships. So that's a very important thing to kind of get clear in your mind. Now, I have to do this very carefully because this is the booklet that's holding my jacked up, see? Whatchamacallit, you know, this doodad, that I'm holding the camera, a tripod. Yeah, that's the ticket. I'm just trying to, this is the booklet that comes with the deck, and this card is not in the Rider-Waite deck, so this is going to be something I have to refresh my memory on. I'm just going to read it to you, the artist. Now, I'm not even going to attempt to say this. Look at the astrological correspondence. Aphenocros. The artist is the vessel of creation. This card signifies mankind and shows when you need to open to the knowledge that is available. If you stop and set aside the distractions of the human condition and listen. Because it's in the upright position, it means visionary, interpreter, creation, and passionate. Okay, now I'm going to shove it back in this. I'm almost out also of my juice, so I'm going to sign off here. But I did want to mention that as the outcome card, this, I wonder if perhaps it's talking about the type of person that you might be best suited for, and maybe you have tended to be attracted to people who have more conventional types of lifestyles, and the mystic or the artist is something that, you know, the bohemian lifestyle. You know, not everybody who is on the spiritual path is living in their van or, you know, or wandering barefoot through India or anything like that and going to ashrams. Some people they have 9-to-5 jobs and they have a very strong spiritual nature. Maybe the judgment that you are reserving for certain individuals, maybe Virgo, you should look at the type of person that you're attracted to, and maybe you need someone who can bring that to the table. Because perhaps the Knight of Swords is in their mind too much, and they don't have enough of a spiritual connection. So that's just a thought. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this. If you would like a personal reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.